time for another solo ride. If you have any type of Ryobi battery, this thing is awesome. No more hand pumping. You just squeeze and fill up your tires. All right, it's a beautiful morning, and we're gonna do another solo ride. And I'm gonna show you something really freaking cool. Stick around. Sun's out, and I am on summer vacation. If any of you have seen any of my other videos, I am a teacher in my regular job, and I'm gonna show you something today that my students did about a year ago, and it's right up the street. So I teach digital media and yearbook, and I have different levels of my media class. I have a beginner, sort of like an intermediate, and an advanced. And my advanced students worked on a project last year where we created 19 different audio files for a project called the Lihue loop. And we're gonna go on that Lihue loop today. So, if no one's on the sidewalk, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I will ride on the sidewalk if no one is there, just simply because Rice Street is, or can get, very busy and crowded and dangerous. Even though it is a shared lane, as evidenced by that green stuff right there. That's a Sharrow. If I see someone on the sidewalk, I immediately jump off, but I'd rather be safe. All right, so this is where we're gonna start off. We're gonna start at Kalena Park. You weren't gonna give me that light. All right. So this is Kalena Park. This is the heart of Lihue. And so we're right here. And this is Rice Street, okay? I actually came up from here, from Ho'olako, and I just rode right up here. And we're actually going to take a 1.3 mile walking tour, but I'm gonna stay on my bike. And this is called the Lihue Loop. So you see those QR codes? What you're gonna do is get your phone and you're going to scan this code. You put that in front of that, and of course there it is. You hit that link and it takes you to the Lihue Loop website, and there you can then listen to the intro. And you're not going to be able to hear it, but
before we get started, our
there
mayor,
you go.
Derek Kawakami, would like to share a few words about the special town we call Lihue.
Hello, this is Mayor Derek Kawakami, and I have to say that I am so excited to welcome all of you to the
all right.
Lihue Loop.
So basically, you go around this 1.3 mile sort of a loop around Lihue. You point your camera at these QR codes that are stationed along this loop. There are 19 points of interest, and you can listen to the history of the Lihue area. So we're actually going to go and check that out today. So from the park, we start here at the park. Head across this street, head across this street, and you're basically what you're going to look for are these QR codes that are situated in spaced out increments along this path. And here is the first one. So you'll see we got the number 2 Lihue Loop. These were created by the high school program at Kauai High School in their STEM program. They created the QR codes, 3D printed them, and then they were attached here. And this one is about this interesting building right here. This is the ILWU building. And if you listen to that code, you'll hear my students talking about it. So as we come further up the road, we come to our War Memorial Convention Hall. This is where we have a lot of different concerts and events. You can read more about it here. And there's actually code number 3. So these individual stories were made by my students. I had 22 students in my main class, and they each took a point of interest. Some of them doubled up, and they worked on researching the different points, either through books or talking to people. There is number 4, and this one talks about the Lihue Moloko'a subdivision. We got our tennis courts. Again, these are created by 22 7th and 8th graders in my advanced class. We worked on it for about, good 6 to 8 weeks, where students had to research their point of interest. They either read a book or they contacted people in the community to kind of write up their script, and created, up to I think it's about a 2-minute file for each point of interest. So this right here is Wilcox Elementary School. This is where I grew up, went to school here. You'll see signs like this, Lihue Loop, that kind of point you in the right direction. More chickens. And we're gonna come across a couple of them here. So again, Wilcox Elementary School. And this is where you can learn about Wilcox and why it was named after Elsie H. Wilcox. Okay. We continue on. There's another stop here that talks about our Lihue Library. So this is point 6 on the tour. That's our Lihue Library and our interesting architecture that goes behind it, as well as some information about this church. So we're continuing on the path. Again, we're still going past Wilcox School. We got some ballparks in the back. And here's where it gets a little tricky. So we got a little roundabout here. What you need to do to continue on the path is to go this way. And we're gonna try not to get hit. And there you see the Lihue Loop sign pointing you in this direction. And then we're gonna learn at the next stop about this interesting art installation. And we're gonna learn about it right here. Okay, so again, look for these signs. And this is our state building. Got a lot of state offices here. Our Department of Education is here. And that brings us to the next point of interest, which is right in front of this building. And there's point number 8, the Hawaii State Building. All right, if you head down there, there's a coffee shop called Aloha Roastery. Check those guys out. We're gonna go down this one-way street though. We're actually gonna come right here. So this is point number 9. And this talks about the skate park and murals that are there. And along the way you'll see, this is just information about the Lihue Loop, and that's another sign like we saw at Kalena Park. But they got a cool little skate park over there, a mini skate park for kids. Now we're gonna come down to our Kauai Museum. And here is another Lihue Loop intro. But there's your next point on the stop. You learn a little bit about the Kauai Museum and how that got started. And then we're gonna continue on Rice Street with a shot of this beautiful building. There's our King Kamoli'i. And we're gonna head up to the next point. Now this used to be a shopping center until they turned it into space for the county when this other shopping center came up. So there's point 12. This talks about the county building. And here's where we're gonna cross the street. And this is where it's gonna get a little tricky, because I'm on one hand needing to cross. I'm gonna come across this way, then come across this way. And this is the next point on the tour. We're gonna learn about that statue and the significance of the person on that statue to Kauai. Now we're gonna head back down Rice Street. Here is our historic Lihue post office. And there is another tag right up here on this pole that talks about the post office. It's a little past it, but 14 is all about the post office. We got some banks. So you got another one across the street at that green sign. Do you see it? That talks about the county building. And then there's another one right up here in front of this white space. This is actually going to be Rainbow Joe's. That's another spot, and you can learn. Oh, that one's kind of busted up already. Interesting. But this used to be a realtor space, but there's an interesting story about the ice cream cone, and you gotta check that one out. Now, around the corner, there's Rainbow Joe's, and that's Betty White. They are gonna be in that white space, in that corner unit very soon. You definitely wanna check them out. They have some of the best coffee and energy on Kauai. But check that out. They're gonna be opening that in, I think, July. And right now they're operating out of Betty White, their white truck. All right, here's the next point, and that is for that banyan tree across the street. There's an interesting story behind that banyan tree and how the banyan trees came to Kauai. We're gonna continue on down Rice Street. This is where we have our bowling alley and some other businesses. There's also a church in there. There used to be a Dairy Queen across the street here where this Garden Island Auto Sales used to be. And that closed down a long time ago. And then this big gray building used to be Crest's store. So I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, Crest, that was like the first real big box type of store that came to Kauai. And you can learn all about it here. And that's stop number 18. They got some cool artwork. They turn this into every one Saturday a month. They turn this whole street into like crafts and vendors and different things to support artists here. And then here's the last stop on the loop. This is number 19. And this building right here used to be a theater. And one of my students interviewed her grandmother who went on dates here when she was a kid. So that is really, really cool. You got another beer. This is the Kauai Beer Company. But in the morning, they open it up as hot coffee. So that is another place to kind of check out if you're looking for coffee. We got 3 coffee spaces on top of having a Starbucks at the mall. So if you want coffee on Kauai, you got it. And we are back to where we started. So the book that our students used was written by Pat Griffin. I'm gonna link it down in the description below if you wanna check out that book. It's a beautifully written and not so much illustrated, but there's tons of photos, old photos about Lihue. And that's what our students use primarily as their resource, in addition to talking to parents, family members or neighbors about their section. But anyway, that is the Lihue Loop. All right. There's Kalena Park. As I said, I'll get off if somebody's on the sidewalk, but I'm gonna get right back on because, like I said earlier, the cars are really, it's a really active street. Even though the speed limit is 25, they don't necessarily always go 25. And there's not a lot of shoulder. They did some work to kind of expand the lanes a little bit, but in making that 3rd lane in the middle so that cars can turn, we pretty much eliminated most of the shoulder. And then, as you can see here, the bike lane kind of opens up again. Today, I am on the Big Ripper. Haven't ridden this for a while, so those tires needed to be pumped. You can kind of hear the Originate freewheel going off in the back. That thing is really loud. If you're looking for a freewheel that makes a lot of noise, Originate the Hornet. That sucker is loud. All right.
Walk sign is small.
Morning. And that's it. That is the Lihue Loop tour. So if you ever make it out to Kauai and want to learn a little bit about Lihue, check out the Lihue Loop. You can go to their website, lihueloop.com. It was a joint effort between my students, the students at Kauai High School's STEM program, some awesome people in the community like Tommy Noyes, Bev Brody, and Pat Griffin, and the awesome people at Jackson Communications who helped put together the website. It's just a fantastic project that my students were involved in, and I think it can be replicated in any town, in anywhere. So if anyone else wants to try something like that, now you got a good idea. So if you stuck around this long, thank you, and consider hitting that like button and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one. Hey, until then, take care of one another, be safe, and aloha.